2, 3, 4. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, I don't need that one. Dun, 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 dun. Beep, boop, bop, bop, bop. Hooray! Hello, everybody. Uncle Sam sent me my stimulus check. Picks of the week. Dee dee boo doo ba da. Now I know my creditors are always watching, and so first of all, I say go to hell. Secondly, I'm going to pay off one of my credit cards, so I figured I might as well buy 3 square-bound books that I don't really need, but I'm going to anyway. First up, Hashtag Danger, Volume 1, Panic on Dinosaur Mountain. This is collects issues 1 through 5, as well as some of the backup stories and some of the other Ahoy books that have been coming out. This was, or I got this because it looked a lot like kind of a send-up of Challenges of the Unknown / the Fantastic Four, but obviously with a bit of a modern influence. So it looks fun, and I'll keep you posted. I know the name Tom Pear, and I know the name Chris Giarrusso, but I couldn't tell you from what right now. But this is more of an Ahoy experience, because I realize the only one I'm reading is Happy Hour. But we'll get to that more later. Also, this is the one I'm really looking forward to. I got Bronze Age Boogie #1, which is collecting Bronze Age Boogies 1 through 6. You're not supposed to say it like that. This is written by Stuart Moore, who I do know, and Alberto Ponticelli, who I also know, but again, could not tell you exactly from what. Stuart Moore gets he gets a lot of work, and Ponticelli, I want to say, yeah, I think he's in the same class as like I was going to say Giancarlo Esposito, but he's an actor. Giuseppe Camuncoli. So I think he's another one of those Italians, and if I'm not mistaken, Julia Brusco is also drawn with Camuncoli. But this, I'm particularly interested in this because, as the title might denote, it takes place in the 70s, or at least 70s type superhero comics. So there's kung fu, there's afros, there's swords and sorcery. The subtitle is Swords Against Dacron! ! So this should be, I'm very much looking forward to this. I keep wanting to say, because the other one I read, but I'll get to that. And then the other square bound I got this week is The String Bags by Garth Ennis and PJ Holden. This was in the shop a few weeks ago. This is a Garth Ennis war book that got right past me somehow. I keep looking at the wrong thing. So I was in the shop and this was on display and I was like, oh, I don't have this. And I had already, kind of hit my limit for the day. So I asked Warren, I said, hey, don't order me one, but if you sell this one and then you're going to reorder one, order one for me too. And so he did. What a great story. I don't think this was, I think this might be an original graphic novel as well, because I didn't see any indication that it was a collection. And it's on Dead Reckoning, which is not a publisher I am at all familiar with. So, Dead Reckoning is an imprint of the Naval Institute Press, the book publishing division of the U.S. Naval Institute. That makes perfect sense. I'm sure Garth Ennis would rather just write war books, even if it's for the United States military. He doesn't have any skin in this game. He's from Northern Ireland. Oh, and then, Jimmy, did you get any single books? I did. Also this week is Black Knight Curse of the Ebony Blade #1. This is written by Cy Spurrier, who I have not read anything that he's written since he wrote a book called Coda. That was an indie book from, I want to say 2017, which was fun, but I kind of lost track of it. Spurrier is a really good writer, though. English guy, I believe, or from the UK, if nothing else. And he's written a lot for Marvel and I think also for DC here and there. And he's also written a lot of indie stuff. I would be very surprised if he didn't come out of the 2000 AD crew. And he's got a very particular style that's really fun. He does a lot. Oh, that was the first thing I read. He wrote a book called X-Men Legion, I want to say, in 2013, 2014. And that book eventually became the FX series Legion, I believe. Where a lot of the concepts that he trotted out in that book ended up on that show, which I still haven't watched. So that will be nice. Also, Black Knight was a character that I always kind of liked growing up. I really liked the B and C list characters to begin with, and Black Knight was certainly that. Black Knight was a Jack Kirby creation, if I'm not very much mistaken. Or and or it was a character created in the Golden Age, and then Kirby brought him back in the 60s when the Silver Age was really going. And he was an Avenger, and he was always kind of, nobody really liked him that much. And then I really got a taste for him in the early 90s. So as you can see, he's pretty much a medieval knight type. He's wearing the armor and the helmet, and he's got a sword and everything. But in the early 90s, they recast him as Lorenzo Lamas. So they took away his costume. He wore a leather jacket, and he had 5 o'clock shadow, and he had a mullet, and he had an earring. And oh my God. The only lamer costume change they did at that time was for the Invisible Woman. And Google that, because that's a treat. But now, lately, especially since King in Black started, I think Dane was stranded in Weird World. Dane Whitman, the Black Knight. I think he was stranded in Weird World for a long time, and then he would pop up every now and again. But ever since King in Black, it seems like he's been, in more and more stuff. And so now they're giving him his own title for a minute. I'm sure this is just a mini-series, but, obviously if it picks up. That or they're going to use him in a movie or a TV show coming up. So that's usually a pretty good sign. That's why Taskmaster is in every goddamn book now. And then finally, I also got this week The Bequest #1 on the Aftershock label. I was just reading some funny books last night, and I saw the house ad for this. And I don't know much about it. I think if I'm not much mistaken, though, it's sword and sorcery, kind of Dungeons and Dragons thing, which isn't my thing, but they're on Earth. And which is, they find to be less than, which is a premise I can get behind. It's also written by Tim Seeley, who I haven't read anything for a while. He wrote a book. He's written a bunch of stuff, but the thing I liked most by him was a book from Image called Revival, which was kind of a zombie book, but not really. I never finished it either. I really liked it. That was a book I had to drop once upon a time just because I had to cut some stuff. But I really would like to go back and get those now I'm thinking about it. Well, I guess I should have spent that money then. Anyway, that was Picks of the Week. See, I got a friend staying with me, so I feel kind of weird. Picks of last week. Feel self-conscious talking to myself in my closet about my funny books. Oh, well. I mean, I've had to listen to him talking about Ani DeFranco. So, last week... I can do this first. So, last week I read Captain Ginger Volume 1 from the Ahoy Comics group. This was a lot of fun. But, it was very lighthearted. Oh, also by Stuart Moore. See, I knew his name from something. I'll probably read more of this, but I'm not, in a super hurry. But if you are a cat person at all, I can't see how you wouldn't like this. So... recommend that. I am a cat person, but I also hate being a cat person, if that makes sense. Ooh, I'm saving that one for last. All right, so I also read Children of the Atom #1. This was pretty much like I was thinking. It's really kind of a Young Avengers version of the X-Men. The Young Avengers, which is a book that I actually have never read, started about 20 years ago, I want to say, in the early 2000s. And it was a group of young superheroes who all had very similar powers to the original Avengers, but weren't actually, well, in 1 or 2 cases they were related, but most of them were not. And this is a much similar thing. We don't know who any of these characters are yet. This is the first appearance of all of them, but this is a Cyclops Girl, and they all kind of have Daycrawler. They all kind of have powers similar to the original X-Men. As we meet these kids, they are a team. They've kind of taken it on their own to become an X-Men team, fighting crime in New York City, Brooklyn specifically, and the Quiet Council, the government of Krakoa, which is the mutant island where everybody lives now, is what do we do with these kids? We're not sanctioning them to fight crime. We're our own nation now. So they want to, Wolverine and those guys want to bring them into the fold. And some of them are like, just leave them alone. They'll come when they want to. Blah, 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 blah. So it's good stuff. Vita Ayala, who's one of the writers for all the... there's like a stable of 5 or 6 writers for the X books, and Vita Ayala, I believe, is already writing one of them. I don't remember which one now. And Bernard Chang, who I'm not very familiar with his work. Really good art, though. Very fun. Speaking of fun, I also read Nonstop Spider-Man #1 this week. This was pretty much what I predicted it would be, just full on. There's even a write-up in the back with the editor who says, like, yeah, we wanted just to do action-packed Spider-Man, and that's exactly what we've got here. Chris Bachalo's art is above reproach as always. Although I did notice this, and I maybe it's just me, but it's always seemed like Bachalo, because Bachalo's style is very busy, so there's always a lot going on. So sometimes in his action sequences, it can be confusing a little bit, like what is happening exactly. But that's actually, I personally kind of like that because I read very quickly and too quickly sometimes. So I feel like if something like that will make me slow down and read it better, I'll get more of my money's worth out of it. This is a $5 comic book, for Christ's sake. This was also a very quick read, but not at all confusing. This is Thor and Loki Double Trouble #1. This is a lot of fun. This is, and also, like, it's strange that the same week this came out, another issue of Norse Mythology came out, which is the P. Craig Anderson adaptation of Neil Gaiman's book, Norse Mythology. But that also features Thor and Loki getting into mischief. So yeah, this is really fun. It's Mariko Tamaki, and she's got a great, very modern style. It's always fun to see with the Asgardian characters. I mean, I think once upon a time I would have found it trite, but the fact that they all kind of talk sarcastically, I kind of like that. I guess the movies have really worked their magic on me. This was the biggest and the funnest thing I read last week. This is Proctor Valley Road #1, which I bought because it was Grant Morrison, but what I did not realize, and I'm glad I bought this, Proctor Valley Road is in San Diego, California, which is where I grew up. It's one of the most haunted streets in America. It's in the South Bay. It's in like Chula Vista, which was not an area I spent a whole lot of time in, but I have driven down Proctor Valley Road, and it is fucking scary. There's no lights out there. During the day, it's whatever, but I've driven through it at night. Fortunately, I've never seen the many, many things, because apparently this is one of the most haunted places in America. And do I know that? No, but do I want to believe that? Absolutely. And yeah, I just always like when there's a connection to where I live. So this takes place in the early 70s, I want to say. In I think I said last week, there's this kind of a Paper Girls vibe to it, which it does, but not in the way I was thinking. But our heroes here are trying to save up to get tickets for a Janis Joplin concert. And they hit on, I think it's Joplin, and I think they hit on the idea of doing spook tours of Proctor Valley Road, and dun dun dun. And then hilarity ensues. They're on a collision course with wackiness, really and for true. Okay, that's it for me. Thank you again, Uncle Sam, for letting me buy my felony books of last week. I'm gonna go get a sandwich with my I'm gonna go stimulate a sandwich into my face. That's disgusting.